Well, hey everybody, it's Sunday, the 29th day of March, 2026. I'm Jan Erickson, and this is As Above, So Below. Well, I hope you had a good week. Mama Goose got off the nest a couple days ago and got off again today, so she got to have some food. Any day now, though, the goslings should be born, because they're like 21 days or so, and I think it's been almost that. So we're excited. Anyway, looks like I've got the wrong date here on the file name, so I have to change that. It's not the 23rd anymore. It just defaults to the last one I did, so anyway, I'll fix that. Not right now, though. We're going to start out with Alyes. Now, Alyes is the 15th rune of the Elder Futhark. It means the elk or the elk sedge. The sedge is the tall grasses that elk and moose and animals like that like to hide in when they're feeding, so hunters don't see them and other bears and things don't see them. But it also reminds me of in a full moon ritual where you raise your arms in supplication to the goddess and draw down the moon's energies or higher consciousness, however you see that. And I see this as elemental, as air, fire, water, and earth, drawing down air, fire, and water into the earthly realm, essentially. But it's basically about protection. It's the bridge between physical and astral realms, is what it represents, higher consciousness or divinity. So it's a very high vibratory rune. And again, it's directional at least I think it is, in terms of drawing those higher elemental energies into your awareness, into physical reality. But let's go ahead and look at if I can get them to move about in my hands here. I'm going to throw down the elemental runes for the Geomancy rune. What do we have here? We have earth. And there's air, there's water, and there's fire. So we have Kata Draconis. Kata and Capit. Capit is the north node of the moon, represents that. Kata is the south node. So whereas the north node would be about the future and manifesting and all of that, the south node is more about karma and past life. If I can find it. Is this it? No, that's Capit. Wait a minute. There we go. Whereas Capit's the head of the dragon, Kata would be the tail of the dragon. And so again, past life influence, or if not past life, just influence of the past in your present life, and how that then informs the future, or at least the present moment. And so there could be some protection going on here, trying to see a situation through higher consciousness, and using past experience and past awareness, and maybe it could even be your values and principles that have been long held, to try to see things through that particular lens. But let's see. I think with what's going on right now with military, some have already gotten to the Middle East. Some are still getting there. It's a difficult situation to deal with. Difficult for the families that are left here to deal with, and so I don't know if this is going to be talking about, because protection's involved and drawing down higher consciousness is involved, to try to see this in a different way maybe than in purely reactionary. So I don't know if this is going to be more of a collective thing that's happening here with the reading, having to do with what's going on in our country right now and in the world, or if it's more personal. So I think that the cards are going to tell us that, hopefully. So I cut the deck, took the lower half. I have one card from the Major Arcana, one from the Court, and one from the Suit of Swords. The one from the Court is the Knight of Pentacles. And the one from the Swords is the 9, and then the Empress is our card from the Major Arcana here. I'm going to leave them in the order that I drew them. We'll see if I end up doing that. But I think that, let me go ahead before I do anything else. Let's do the numerology of the reading. So 15 was all ye's, plus the 9 here, plus 3 from the Empress, and then the Knight. The court doesn't ever have any, so we have 27. 27 reduces to 9. I'll do it one more time. 15 plus 9 plus 3, 27. So again, 9 is the overall numerology. 9 is about endings and completion. So is Kata Draconis. Kata Draconis could be reflect the lower kingdom. It could be an indicator of disaster. That's why I hesitate, to say for sure what if this is a collective reading or if it's an individual one. But it's the exit, it's the lower kingdom, it's terminating affairs. And in a sense, the 9 is doing the same thing. Here, the individual wakes up from a nightmare. You see order in the blanket here. They're all, it's just not chaos. They're on the chaotic design. It's an ordered type of a design. So are the swords. Swords is the air element. So you're talking about your intellect, communication, truth versus deception. Here, he's waking up from the nightmare, getting everything in order so that he understands the bigger picture. And then the 10 would be, you would see the guy on the ground, his head turned toward the water, toward the night that's lifting, and with 10 swords piercing his back. And that one, if you go from here to that one, to the 10, then you get everything in order. You understand the bigger picture of the nightmare. You're letting go, maybe, or getting things in, understanding the bigger picture of where your thoughts are taking you in that nightmare, in that dream state. And then in the 10, you let it go and you turn your face to the light, and you have a new awakening, basically, with the 10. But for the purposes of the reading, once you get everything in order, once you understand, especially with Kata Draconis and the influence of that, especially if you're talking about evil, the exit, the lower kingdom, it's lower vibrational energy. If you're looking at karma, I don't look at karma as a bad thing. I think karma is you're just revisiting some things that didn't get dealt with. And it's coming back to inform that whole process. So I don't see karma as a bad thing necessarily. The whole idea of karma is going to get you. No, it doesn't. I don't think so anyway. I see it in a more positive way. But when you're trying to create the bridge between higher consciousness in the astral realm and physical reality, what that means to me is you're drawing that in. Again, the idea of drawing down higher awareness, higher consciousness into your physical reality and into your awareness, so that you start looking at things from that different perspective instead of the ego's perspective. That's a way of protecting you. So again, with Alyes being the elk and protection, it's protecting you from what's going on around you that is not relevant, basically, that needs to be seen in a different light, if you will. From there, we have the Empress, which is the third card 3 of the Major Arcana. You see the Empress sitting on her throne there, kind of a reclining chair, if you will. You see her beautiful crown, and the crown is made of Merkabahs, of the Star of David, if you will. And so you have as above, so below, coming together. They're two triangles that come together essentially and merge together in essentially as the Merkaba, and which is also thought of to be as a soul vehicle. And it's important with the Empress. You see all the wheat that's down here below. You see the roses here. Sometimes they look, depending on how they're drawn, they kind of look like strawberries, but they're not. I think they're roses. You have the shield here in the shape of the heart with the Venus glyph right here. You have, if you look way over here, and it kind of goes from behind, here comes the creek, and here's the little waterfall right there to nourish the ground around her. She's sitting in a whole lot of abundance here with all this greenery. She holds her scepter kind of high. She has one hand sitting on her leg and on her knee right there, and it's difficult to see, but she's pregnant with possibility. Now, the Empress is about the mother aspect. It's about love and fertility. It's about success. Also, it represents the womb and initiation, so giving birth. So you have the and I've talked about this before. You have, I like to illustrate how things progress if I can when I do a reading, and so I talk about other cards that aren't present when I do that. But you've got the Fool, which is the soul, taking its leap into form, all right, and becoming he or she or whatever, non-binary, whatever the Fool chooses to be in physical reality, and brings with it in the knapsack the things that the Fool needs to remember when it comes into form, right? The experiences that it's had that it's going to help guide the Fool when it gets here. And through the Magician, the Fool creates its world, creates its gender, it creates the plan for what's going to happen, basically, the alchemical type of plan, and favors the four elements again, like I like to do with Alyes. And then from there you have the High Priestess that merges the rest of it, the unconscious realm, or as I like to think of it, as the collective consciousness instead of unconsciousness. Merges all that together in the body, and then the Empress comes along and gives birth to creation. And so whether you want to think about in terms of the world and creation, or whether you want to think about what am I going to create once I get here, once my soul incorporates and incarnates into this body, and my energy signature does that, I'm going to then give birth to my world and how I see things. So again with the Empress, you're talking about abundance, you're talking about beauty and receptivity and success, and so the 3 is integrative. You're talking maybe mind, body, spirit. It's triplicities. You see that also in the High Priestess card with her crown, the Maiden Mother crown type of a crown she wears. And so, and again, you don't see the Emperor until after, the Emperor is her consort. She gives birth to creation without him. He represents the father principle, if you will. He represents authority, but the projective side of self, but the Empress is the receptive presence, the goddess presence, the great mother's presence as she breathes out life, and we rest in the great mother's breath until she decides to inhale us back. That's the Empress as I see it. Ultimately, all 4 cards essentially: Fool, Magician, High Priestess, and Empress. And so when you draw down that abundance, when you draw down that higher wisdom with the Empress through Alyes, essentially, you're able then to put into perspective whatever Kata Draconis ultimately represents. And so if it's letting go of the ego, if it's letting go of demonic force, if you will, there's a lot of demonic force happening in our world right now, and we need to see that for what it is and use that as the message behind, okay, well, now if we want to live there, or do we want to live together in higher consciousness and have that be our shared collective experience here in physical reality. but I'll probably come back to her. Anyway, we have the Knight of Pentacles lastly here. I like this card because, the visor's up, so there's no battle. He's offering material security. He's offering guidance. He's offering assistance. He's offering loyalty to the townspeople below. You can't see it, be over here somewhere, and it's not visible on the card. And the knight is very trustworthy. He's a young man, not as young as the page would be, of course. He's wise, dependable, practical, realistic, pragmatic. So he's there to help us see things in a way that is grounded and makes sense. Pentacles is the earth element, and so you're talking about that. When you talk about the earth element and the suit of pentacles, you're talking about everything about your material reality here, in physical reality. Everything about your, again, it's a very Othala type of a suit and an element, because Othala, being the last rune of the Elder Futhark, you're talking about sacred space. It's an earth element rune, and you're talking about ancestral heritage and prosperity and balance and tradition and loyalty, family, all of that coming together at the end of the Elder Futhark. All of those messages that you get from each one culminate there. And so in a sense here, we have to get the negativity, the negative self-talk, if you want to look at this as that way as well. Get that in order. That's the part with Kata Draconis that can be so self-destructive. All right. And maybe that's the evil part of this. Maybe it's the ending of that. And the understanding that if you don't let go of it, if you don't let go of the negativity and the just the way of keeping yourself, it's like with the rune Karser, the Geomancy rune Karser, where you're in that bubble of perception and the ego isn't letting you out of it. It's very self-destructive to be there, and Kata Draconis and Karser and Rubeus, and is another Geomancy rune. Rubeus is where you're talking about that kind of misuse of force that's turned inward. And here, he's awakened from it. He's not going to be dominated for it. He's putting everything in order, and it's the end of this. And since we know what the 10 signifies, we know that there's something positive for him coming now that he's done this, all right? And then from there, you give birth to a different type of creation, a different type of loving abundance, where it's not just love for other people, but it's love for the self, so that you don't get caught up in the idea of the negative self-talk and the nightmares you just simply cannot escape from. You control all of that. And that's what the Empress is trying to say. You actually have the control over what you create. And that there is help available, that helps keep you grounded and materially secure, if you will. But to do that, you've got to let go of the negativity, and you've got to let go of the negative self-talk and the keeping yourself in that place where you feel overwhelmed by everything instead of in control of everything. Because again, the Empress is reminded, that's the soul archetype card for the reading. Major arcana is considered soul archetypes, and so they have a different vibration than the rest of the tarot cards do. You've got the small cards that reflect the elements, and then you've got the court cards, which are just into their own thing, right? It's just the way we progress in our lives, from Page, the youthful person, to the Knight, here, the little bit older one, no longer a student, more in charge of his own reality, or maybe he's working for in this case, maybe the king and queen, working and trying to get people to be a little bit more resilient and grounded and focused on progressing in life, the maintaining traditions and things like that, just in general, but doing so in a very pragmatic way. When your thoughts plague you, it's less likely for that to happen. And so you have to get them under control. You have to get them in order, understand what they are, give birth to something new, and have that be from a higher consciousness based belief system versus the ego's belief system where you're never good enough, because you are just inherently good enough, you know? It's not about, we talk ourselves into all kinds of stuff, don't we? And we shouldn't. And I think that that may be what this is talking about here. And instead of being unrealistic, and deceiving yourself, which can happen with the Suit of Swords, with the Knight of Pentacles, instead, take the offering of dependability and reliability and trust and wisdom that comes from a higher purpose, from a higher sense, from higher consciousness, higher awareness, and see where that takes you. Because it's got to be something better than this, and being stuck here, where you really can't learn. Your thoughts will not let you learn from the situations of the past that you've experienced to try to glean something that helps you move forward into the future. The Empress is future. She's all about abundance and love and beauty and success and creating the world that you need to be in. And instead of coming in and experiencing an existing world, you actually have that power to create. And she tells us that on your own, what your world is going to look like. And so do you want to populate it with thoughts that keep you stuck in perceptions that are, they're not positive and they're not self-affirming? Well, maybe they are, but in the negative way, but positively self-affirming, because that's where you need to be. So I don't know that this is a collective type of a reading. I think this is probably more individually based. But again, I think with the 9 numerology of the whole reading, 9 is about endings, completion, spirituality, generosity, having some generosity for your own self. We forget to do that. We're supposed to be other focused, but at the same time, there has to be time for you to realize that you have everything you need to move forward in a positive direction if you just would let go of the stuff that's no longer relevant and is really just harming you and keeping you in a place of the ego's choosing. And when you do that, it all opens up, life opens up into a better path. And again, abundance doesn't have to be defined as money. It can mean the relationships that you have with others, the relationship you have with yourself, and how you manifest in a positive way going forward. That might be the better, abundance can be all kinds of things, right? You can have an abundant garden, it's like, oh my God, I don't know what to do with all this. Maybe give some of it away, maybe you put it up for the winter, so you've got some through the winter to enjoy. But lots of ways to look at abundance. And but I think that for the Empress, love and harmony and is part of that, and that helps you to find abundance maybe in a little bit higher vibratory way than simply the mundane aspects of life. And again, with the Knight, it's what are you doing? Is your head in the clouds? Are you like it with the 7 of Cups, for example, or are you grounded and you've got your head on your shoulders, right, instead of and you're focused on how to manifest the material aspect of your world in a way that's practical and dependent and dependable. Because when you're here, the only thing that's dependable is that you're going to think badly of yourself, and there's no reason to do that. So anyhow, I think that's it. I think that we have to remember one thing with all these is the idea of divinity, the divinity within. We're not the bodies. We create the bodies. We create the world. We create that matrix of experience. But we are something else. We're the soul. We're the energy signature of the universe. We're part of the aspects of the creator. And that is a very powerful place. That is a very powerful place to come from. and to still be part of while we're here. There's no separation. And we have to remember that we are in more control here than, finally here in the nine, we're taking back control of all of that. And moving forward in a very creation type experience. And that should be something that happens every single moment of your life, instead of, well, gee, now I got to figure this out. No, you're creating every moment, and think of life that way, as you're on the precipice at all times of creating something new, and higher conscious based, worthy of the soul that you are, instead of thinking that you're just these bodies, and the life that you're in can't be different, can't change, and so if you're on that precipice all of the time of creating something new, then that's your reality. And I think that finding a way to link the two is probably the biggest challenge we have in life. And maybe we don't realize that, because we think all these other things are challenges. But in fact, it's how do we as a soul incorporate that vision into everything we create, instead of constantly reacting to everything around us. Take back that control, because when you're reacting, you don't have that anymore. So maybe that's the message of Kata Draconis in this, and also the Nine of Swords. So anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. And if your loved ones are indeed elsewhere in this stuff that's going on, then let all of our hearts come together in strength for all of you. So thanks for watching, and come back again on Sunday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.